Guys, let's settle in because boy have we got a lot to talk about. What's up guys, it's Aaronitmar. Today we're going to talk about two rumors that have surfaced within the last 24-ish to 48 hours regarding the Nintendo Switch. You guys probably heard or saw my video on Smash 4 coming to the Switch, and that was a rumor, I want to say about a month ago at this point, that we were going to be getting sort of a director's cut golden edition of Smash 4, and that would be on the Switch. But we have new news, first off, regarding that, and also regarding a potential other Smash game for the Nintendo Switch. So first, we have the GameCube Virtual Console supposedly finally being implemented on the Nintendo Switch. This has been basically the final console that needs to have a Virtual Console in order for the entire Nintendo library to potentially be available on one of the consoles. For the Wii U, we have all the way up to the N64 finally getting stuff on the Virtual Console, and then of course you can play Wii games and Wii U games on the Wii U. GameCube is the only console where you can't play a game on a current gen console. It's the only system that has games that are unavailable. You would need a second console in order to play. Hopefully that will change with the Virtual Console coming onto the Switch. And of course with that, we have Super Smash Bros. Melee coming to the Nintendo Switch via the GameCube Virtual Console. And guys, I am just so hyped for this. And of course, this just makes a ton of sense. Super Smash Bros. Melee is the top-selling GameCube game of all time. It has, it's number one. It's not number two, it's not number three, it's number one. And it's got a huge popularity resurgence as of late, thanks to the huge competitive scene, the big numbers that they pull on Twitch for the tournaments, just the big names in general, and the fact that Nintendo has been sponsoring both Melee and Smash 4 events shows that they're recognizing that Melee is still a big deal even to this day. So bringing it onto the GameCube Virtual Console would be a huge thing, and it makes a lot of sense to, make that game available. Now keep in mind that these are rumors, but apparently this service is being organized, developed by Nerd, who are the developers of the NES and Famicom Classic Mini Edition, whatever the full name is, I don't remember. And apparently Nintendo has been incredibly impressed with this work that they did emulating it. It was very, very close to the original. It had a lot of good features, and it just was a very solid thing in general. So if that is the case, and I personally own an NES Classic, and it plays near flawlessly. I have not had any issues at all with bugs or anything like that. It plays just like it would on the NES itself. So with that said, I am also pretty confident that if this is the company that they're using, if this is the route that they're going to bring the GameCube to the Virtual Console, that this is going to be a huge deal. This means that there's going to be a very solid build of Melee available, which is a big deal. The 64 community did not actually want to use the Wii Virtual Console version because it had frame skipping, frame buffering, things like that. It had input delays at some point that seemed to be random. So hopefully, if Melee is coming to the Virtual Console, they're targeting it towards the competitive scene, and with that in mind, they're going to want to make sure that it runs flawlessly. It's going to be as low buffer as possible between the controllers, or as low delay, I should say, between the controller and the input, and it's going to be as close to the GameCube or Wii as possible. Because if it's not, we'll just stick to the GameCube and Wii versions. We have no problems having a CRT and a GameCube or a Wii. It's been done for years and years and years. So they're really, if they're focusing on the competitive scene, which is my guess, and supposedly what their goal is with this release, according to the source, then they're going to want to make it as close to the GameCube version, if not exactly the same as possible. As far as that topic goes, there's not a lot more to talk about. Obviously, there's a bunch more games that could be coming alongside Melee, and of course in the future there's going to be a lot more that could be added because the GameCube had just such a huge library of amazing games. But currently, this is all the information that we have. We've heard that Melee is coming to the Switch via the Virtual Console, and in the fact that there's going to be a GameCube Virtual Console in the first place. But with all that said, let's move on to the second rumor, which is, of course, Smash 4 on the Nintendo Switch. Now, obviously, I did do a video on Smash for the Switch in the past, but unfortunately that video ended up being sort of false, I guess. The information that was published was not actually accurate. They said that someone, one of their sources was a certain person, and that person ended up not actually being the source. They just sort of slapped their name on it to give themselves credibility. So, unfortunately, that did end up being fake. But this source is supposedly far more solid. They've been working with Source Gaming for quite some time, giving them solid information. So if you trust Source Gaming, it's very, very likely that this rumor is reliable. Again, it is still just a rumor, and it is possible that rumors can be false, even if the person behind it has a huge track record of having solid rumors before. So do keep that in mind as we discuss this. This is still a rumor. Both of these things are still rumors. So it is possible that this is not actually happening. But with that said, let's discuss the possibility of it happening in the first place. So the source states that Smash for Switch is going to be a combination of both the 3DS and the Wii U versions of Super Smash Bros. 4. It's going to bring content from both of those, combine them into one game, and release it exclusively on the Nintendo Switch. Apparently, the game is going to feature some new content, including 2 new characters. And unfortunately, we don't have any confirmation on what those characters are. We just know, or we have been told, that there will be 2 new characters. This version will also include all the DLC that was available for the 3DS and the Wii U versions. As far as I can tell, all of those are the same. I don't remember there being any 3DS DLC that wasn't available on the Wii U or vice versa. Maybe 1 or 2 stages, but all the characters, of course, were available. Most of the DLC stages as well were available, so it's going to include all the DLC regardless. Now, with all that said, let's discuss what 2 characters could be added. The author of the article says, or I guess sort of gives their opinion, that 2 characters I think is pretty low, and I do kind of agree that only 2 characters is a little low, but we will reside under the assumption that only 2 characters will come to the Switch version, simply because that is what the rumor states. So one of those characters, in my opinion, I think is going to be the Ice Climbers, and that is because the 3DS was the reason that the Ice Climbers did not appear in Smash 4 in either version, in both 3DS or Wii U. It's just the reason it did not appear in Smash 4. And that's because it works differently. I think I've discussed this before, but Ice Climbers work differently than characters like Duck Hunt or Rosalina and Luma. Rosalina and Luma are actually fully player controlled, whereas the Ice Climbers actually have a CPU involved. So the game has to control 1 player and 1 CPU per Ice Climber selection. And that might not seem like a lot for 4 characters, but when you up it all the way to 8, that's a lot for the Wii U. They did get it working on the Wii U, but it still is a lot for the Wii U because you have to consider the maximum amount of players that can be on screen at once, which is 8 thanks to 8-player Smash. On top of that, when the game was being developed, Smash for 3DS was still on the old 3DSs with the slow processing. So I don't think that even if there were 4 Ice Climbers on screen, that they were going to be able to get that to work. I think the processing power was just too, it just required too much that the 3DS could do. Whether or not the new 3DS can do that now is, questionable because obviously we've got no idea. But if the version for the Switch is going to be the only version, it's going to be the definitive version for now, because it's going to be the director's cut, it's going to be all of the best content put onto one game, I think we will see the Ice Climbers because the Switch has more processing power and there's not a second version available to buy. The reason that the Ice Climbers weren't made is because of the 3DS. Sakurai said that he didn't want the characters available on one console to not be available on the other. All of the characters needed to be available so that one player, with a 3DS, so say a 3DS player had the game, they didn't want to feel alienated and feel like they were missing out on something on the Wii U version. Obviously, items, songs, things like that would vary, but as far as characters go, it's the same across the board for both. So if there is no other version, if there is no Smash 4 Director's Cut for the 3DS that could potentially hold back what could be on the Switch version, then I definitely think we're going to see Ice Climbers come back. just because, you know, it just sort of adds up based on this information we have. As far as the other character goes, I've got no idea. Obviously, I could speculate here, but it would just be guessing at this point. The Ice Climbers at least has some kind of logic for me behind it, but this one, it could be any of the returning characters. They could have worked something out with Konami for Snake. They could be bringing back Wolf. They could be bringing back a clone character, or it could be an all-new character. Who knows? We don't know. There's nothing that could lead us to any kind of conclusion right now. So I'm not entirely sure, but guys, I do want to know what you guys think about both of these stories. Both Melee coming to the Nintendo Switch, being ported via the GameCube Virtual Console, and Smash 4 for the Nintendo Switch Director's Cut. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for both of these? We're gonna get 2 Smash games on the Switch right out of the gate almost. I assume they'll be within launch window, or at least within the first year of the Switch being out, depending on how long it takes them to get both versions of the game working as well as they want it to. But we're gonna have 2 Smash games on there, and potentially 3 if they do Smash 5. I don't know, we don't have any news on Smash 5, obviously. I'm just thinking because every console has had a new version of Smash, but we're definitely supposedly getting 2. Obviously these are still rumors, but what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, do not forget to hit that like button, and I will see you all next time.